Good day everyone, this is Patrick from EasyFX Code Trading System, and this is Saturday the 25th of April 2020, and this is the weekly analysis for Euro, Cable and the Aussie dollar. And let's begin with the Euro, where you can see that it started drifting lower and managed to find support and rebound slightly on Friday back up to above the 108 support level and just above the 21.4 fib retracement level. It could not break out higher above the weekly pivot for last week at 108.90 and consolidated for much of the week in that zone. This support is going to continue through next week, and we'll see whether it's going to drift lower. And there is intermediate resistance now in this area. Now it's already fallen out of the symmetrical triangle, and let's see, we could possibly identify another pattern here that's happen to be drifting lower. And if we move this upper trend line, we could actually form a descending triangle, descending wedge. In this area, let's take out the extension ray. Alright, so that's the intermediate resistance at around the 108.90 area. So just below 109. Intermediate support at 108, and if it drifts down lower, then it could extend to the weekly S2 for last week at just 107.12 area. So yes, it could be drifting lower into this apex of the descending wedge, and we'll see whether it's able to break out higher above the 21.4 fib, and it's got to climb up above the 55 daily 55 EMA and attempt to try to make its way back up to the 110 level again. That's going to be a key psychological resistance level. So last week it was basically a slew of bad news in the Eurozone PMIs on Thursday, and that dragged the euro dollar down, but it managed to recover somewhat on the Friday. And this week there is the ECB on Thursday, and we'll see what other stimulus measures the central bank is going to offer. There are three central bank announcements this week. Kicking off with the Bank of Japan on Tuesday, and the ECB on Thursday, followed later on that night with the FOMC. All are expected to hold rates, which is already low. Then it all depends on their stimulus measures. Okay, so that's the key one for this week for the Eurozone. And as well, just before the ECB meeting and announcement, there is a preliminary flash GDP figure. So that's going to indicate how bad the potential recession is going to be, similar to the US, where a day earlier on Wednesday they will also announce their advanced GDP figures. Okay, let's move on to the cable. And it fell hard out of the lower trend line of the ascending wedge on Tuesday, and then drifted back up higher above the monthly pivot. So the interim support still at the 50% FIB area at just above 123. Key resistance is still going to be at 125. And potentially this wedge could turn out to extend into a slightly bullish channel. So we'll see if this will continue higher to get to the middle of the channel at the 125, and that's going to be a key resistance area. And if it does fall out of this channel, fall down lower, then it's going to try to target the 38.2 FIB retracement, just near the 121 round figure. So Tuesday was bad news for the UK with their employment report, with a couple of poor readings. And this coming week, there's no specific news for the UK, but the US has a number of news coming up for the second half of the week. So this coming week's range is just going to be at the 50% range and around the monthly pivot support, 123 to the 125 area, so about the 200 pip range for next week. All right, let's move on to the Aussie dollar. And similarly, the Aussie dollar as well drifted lower at the start of the week and managed to recover and climb up to close higher for the week, heading towards the 0.64 round figure. Resistance is still going to be at the 78.6 FIB area where the previous swing low is. So that's going to be at a 0.6430 area. It did fall out of the ascending wedge as well, but similar to the cable, we could open up this range and possibly it could be forming slightly a bullish channel as well and moving up in this formation. So it needs to break above the 78.6 FIB and target the 0.65 round figure. Support is at the 0.63 another key support at 61.8 fib, but let's move up this resistance to the 0.65 level. So it's between 0.63 and 0.65 range that needs to break out from this intermediate resistance to target at 0.65 and move up along this bullish channel. If it falls below, back below the 55 EMA and the 0.63 support, 62 fib is still going to be a key one for support. Otherwise, then it could fall all the way back to the monthly pivot at 0.6110. All right. The RBA last week announced that on Tuesday it will just maintain the interest rates for a couple of years. So after initial dip lower, managed to recover. And this week there's CPI figure on Wednesday. Right, and that's the only key news. So it's also exposed to the US news with FOMC as the key news for the US. All right, so do check out my other videos on spot gold and dollar yen, and have a good and safe trading week, and cheers for now.